So I guess this might be the start of my YouTube channel. Welcome. Me and my kids have thrown around the idea of starting a YouTube channel for a while. Just showing my mechanic work that I do. Just projects around the garage, but I work on all kinds of stuff, you know, like I build custom things and work on small engines, cars, trucks, fab, weld, whatever. I'm no pro at anything, but I figured I have enough knowledge and maybe like quick tricks that I can show a lot of people. My kids especially wanted me to help teach more kids, you know, teenage kids that maybe don't have a dad around or something. So little fun projects, little advice, maybe just some, I don't know, time lapse with B-rolls. I don't know. I'm still going to be learning video editing, stuff like that. I got a kid that might be able to help, so hopefully. But quick project today. Hopefully a quick project. We'll see. I'm going to do a little video taping, see how it goes, see how I learn. But yeah, I'll explain what we're doing, I guess. Today, this is our Baja. It was a pit bike that we redid last summer. Stripped it down, powder coated the frame, fixed a bunch of bushings, and, you know, rebuilt top end of the motor. Actually, this one I split the case and had to swap out third gear that was stripped out of it, but we put it together. You know, it's just a cheap China bike. We picked it up for, I think, 50 bucks. We put $40 into plastics and seats. I do vinyl graphics, so we cut those ourselves. Stepdad owns sandblasting and powder coating business. He'll probably be mentioned on the channel a few times. He powder coated the frame for us, you know, sponsorship for the grandkid, you know, my son. We race locally, motocross, as well as my youngest. So the project for today actually is about my youngest bike. He just got a YZ 85, if you other run two-stroke in the AMA classes. He was running this TTR, or sorry, not TTR, this one's a Apollo. 125, 20 max, something like that. So basically it's a 125 four-stroke with 4-speed. So we stole the carburetor off that one to use on this when my kid took it as a pitter to Florida. That way it was more reliable for him down there. But now we're going to put this carb back onto the 125 because we're going to sell the 125 now. With him having the YZ85, we don't have a need for this one. It's a nice pitter, but it's a little too big for, you know, it takes up a whole spot in the toy hauler. So we're going to probably stick with the Mini. We usually take a 3-wheeler with us too, but 3-wheeler is really handy. You know, you can fit 3 kids on the back of it while you're riding around at the pits and everything else. So well, we'll see. We'll get a little carb swapped over. All right, so before we start on changing that carb, I want to talk about organization a little bit. I'm kind of not really a neat freak, but I try to stay organized, you know, try to stay clean. It's a little bit of a mess still. Like, I've only been in this garage, you know, this last weekend I finished up building benches and stuff. So, and I'm already into also another project, the jack on the front of the camper toy hauler took a crap on us, so that's getting rebuilt. But new lights to go up, stuff like that. I don't even have the garage all opened up yet. So what I was going to do is we'll get a little video, take a look, see what we're going to need for tools, anything else, and go from there. All right, to take this one off, looks like we're going to need a 8mm for the bolts, probably a Phillips screwdriver, probably pull the air cleaner off so we can get in there a little easier. Maybe a plain screwdriver, pop off the fuel line. I already got the gas turned off, but we'll have a little bit coming out of there. So like I said, I'm in the new garage working on new organization. That's why wrenches are actually up on the wall now. So I'm going to be doing some moving around inside my box. Currently have, you know, some random wrenches, but my socket drawers are pretty empty. So I'm going to try to combine some stuff to make some space in the toolbox for more specialty tools. I'm going to spread out some screwdrivers because my screwdrivers drawer is a disaster. So plain screwdriver, Phillips. Probably a plier maybe for that fuel line to pop off of there. And I said at 8mm, so I got 1/4-inch drive. I got ratchets hanging on the wall as well, and then sockets. So 8mm, 1/4-inch drive, deep well. All right. So
it's really basically pretty simple probably for most people. So just a hose clamp, a couple bolts, you know, pop it off. Maybe some of you might have never had a slide apart. I can show you how the kind of maybe some of the springs work. There's a couple different ways how some of those come together and a couple different styles, but they're all basically the same, I guess. Pop this fuel line up a little bit. Sometimes just prying up on the bottom of it with a screwdriver kind of helps break that like stuck grip that it has on there. And like this fuel line, this clear stuff, it's easy to install, it's nice. Like this one doesn't even have any clamps or nothing, but problem is once gas goes through it, it gets hard. It's stiff. So it's not really the greatest. Change it out maybe if you need to. This one I'm probably gonna leave on the bottom of the tank, so it's not a big deal for now. I'm actually gonna order a brand new carb for this bike because this is one we're gonna be using all the time. And you know, new carbs are pretty cheap for these. Well, this has got one bolt that doesn't want to come out. I'll be honest, I use my Milwaukee drivers about all the time. This case I didn't think I'd be able to fit in here with the front fender, but I probably could have. I also recommend little magnet trays for holding your nuts and bolts. The roll around cart I'm sitting on actually has a built-in magnet trays on the sides. Also, Harbor Freight sells them for $2, $3, whatever. You can get the coupons, you can get them for $1.99 or something, but well worth it. Headache of losing parts, you know, spend the $2. Okay, so not sure if you can see what I'm doing here. So what it is on this slide, you have the top of your carburetor. Yeah, oh, I'm actually in the screen. So this is the top, twists off. There's threads on the inside with a O-ring. So don't lose that O-ring. It's kind of like for a garden hose almost. Prevents vacuum leak and stuff. So what you have though is you have the slot all the way down the one side. This is where your cable can come out. So what you got to do is I can use my fingers, kind of keep pushing the spring up. If you need to, use a screwdriver. You can kind of work your way up. Get the bottom of the spring all the way up over this one edge. Some of these are difficult. So the other trick is you can push down. If the cable stays with it, you can push it down and get this bead that's on the end of the cable to pop down off the bottom, and then flip it out from there and then pull up out of it. And just be careful, because when the spring pops out of here, you don't want to lose your spring, the top of your carburetor, or this little clip. Oops, there we go. This little clip that holds your needle in, so don't lose all that stuff. Alright, so I found a little fuel line. Got it hooked up here. We'll see how that's going to work. I don't know. I haven't got the link or nothing yet until I get carb in there. But carb came off the other bike. It was a running bike. I just rode it around the yard yesterday, you know, to make sure everything's good. So when I switched over here, I didn't have to worry about knowing whether if it had a problem, whether it was the carb problem or another problem. I don't know. This bike's been sitting for probably 6 months now, maybe a little while. So we'll get this carb on here and see if we can get this thing to fire up. This is kind of a small carb for this motor actually too. I had a different one on here and it didn't seem to run as good. That's the other carburetor that I was thinking about putting, you know, swapping back, that I said wasn't as reliable. That's why we went to this one. You know, it's kind of a last minute thing. He decided he wanted to take a pit bike with him, so he had something to ride around while he was down there actually doing some filming for his own YouTube channel. That's about right or not, I don't know. Might have to take a look at this and I'll get back to you about what's going on here. I think cable might be a little bit different, or I might need to mess with the top end. Alright, so kind of what I expected up at the top. So sometimes your cable gets caught instead of going into the sleeve at the end, like where your throttle is at the top or where at the carburetor, instead of it falling inside there, sometimes it gets caught like that and it makes your cable seem way too short. So that would happen up at the top by the twist grips here right there. It just popped again. So yeah, I can show you real quick. Had to pull that little rubber boot back to make sure that was up there where it's supposed to be. Otherwise it kept riding down. You know, it'd pop out of here and get caught and then not pull back up there where it needs to be in order to give you enough slack down here for your to put the slide back on. So opposite of tearing it apart, I guess, is the basic way to put it. So you got your slide. Make sure your little clip's in there, holding your needle down. And don't push up on your needle, because your needle will actually pop that out of there, and then who knows where they land. Put your spring over top of your cable. Keep it pulled back like that with a bead out. And you can catch this bead in there. It falls into the slot. You can see what I'm doing. Falls into the slot, and then the spring goes in just like that. Another thing you can do is while you have it out of the carburetor, make sure it seems to be, you know, twist your grip. Make sure it seems to be moving easily, not binding up. You definitely don't want to get it stuck to the top. Not fun. And then we'll slide the slide down in the top of the carb. It's kind of hard to show you, but slide down the top of the carb and put the cap on. Watch for these grooves. So this side where there's a ramp right here is where your needle from the side of your carburetor comes in, and so the more you screw that needle in, the more it pushes that ramp up, and that's what increases your idle and decreases your idle on a carburetor. On the opposite side is that slot where you had your cable come through. There's actually a little pin inside where this drops into the top of that carburetor. There's a little pin in the one side, so you have to actually get this clocked the right direction for that pin to slide up and down in this slide. What it does is it makes it so this bevel stays facing the right direction inside your motor, and then makes it so that when it rides up and down, it stays nice and true and everything. So make sure you get that twisted the right way to make sure the slide actually goes down. Otherwise, it'll stay stuck to the top. And then when you put the cap on, all you're doing is just compressing your spring down, and you're stuck at wide open throttle, and you're going to wonder why. So make sure your slide slides down into where it's supposed to be with that pin on the one side in the track. Alright, so we're going to get the fuel line hooked up, filter on. I already cut the fuel line to length, kind of wiggled around in here, seeing how I liked it. Try not to get it laying on any hot stuff. I did manage to find a fuel filter I had laying around with a piece of hose on it, so I'm throwing that in there. May redo it. Like I said, I'm going to probably put a shut-off in this when I grab a shut-off in a day or two, whenever I make it to the store or something. Drain lines off the bottom of the carb for like when you drain your bowl, or the overflow one. I do recommend having hoses on them, so that way if they do drain, for like if your float gets stuck, which happens quite often on off-road vehicles, you know, they're bounced around a lot and dirt and everything else that can be problems. So drain hoses that go below the motor, that way you don't have gas leaking on a hot motor and causing problems. Got the carb back on. I'll tighten up the air filter. I don't even know if I have any gas in the gas can right now, so I might have to see if we got any gas so we can try this thing out today. And, should be about it. So I got a little bit of gas in the tank. I ended up finding some. I'll be honest, I don't know how good a gas it is. Like I said, last few months I've been moving. Just moved in a new house, new garage. Kind of got settled in, organized before I even got back into projects or anything like this. So a little bit of mystery gas in there. We'll see if it's going to work or not. And I guess we'll fire it up, try it out. We're going to also make sure there's some oil in this, just to make sure. Always do that. Anything you try to fire up for something you haven't ran in a while, or even if you do run it every day, you probably should check your oil on things like these. Might save you a motor from blowing up sometime, or seizing up on you, or getting stranded on a trail. Alright, so anytime I start up something like this, have
have a carburetor or a screwdriver ready for your carburetor. Phillips plane, whatever you may need for probably at least your idle, because even though this carburetor was just on that motor and idled fine, it's probably going to idle different with it being on a different CC motor. That's actually I think that's a 70 now. Check the oil. Oil's good. Key's on. I think neutral's all the way up in this one. Maybe not. Maybe neutral comes down. To be honest, I haven't rode this bike in a while. Yes, neutral is all the way down in this one, so opposite of the three-wheeler. Note to self. Okay. Fuel line looks like it's getting gas. Sometimes you can crack the bleeder on the bottom of the bowl. See if you get gas out your overflow. Yeah. That way you know that you're actually getting gas all the way down to your bowl, not actually just filling your line and not going past the needle. Oh, there you go. I'm starting to question spark. Get a plain screwdriver to adjust this mix as well, because that's about all it has for an idle screw. Too much goofing around. I may just order a new carb for this and put this one back on that bike, honestly. I might have to buy a new carb for this one. I really don't have to mess around with the jets and mess around with everything else to make this carburetor work on here. We ran it on here before. Runs really good on that one though, so maybe I'll take a look online, see what I can find for a carburetor. Alright, that might be the end of filming for today. I learned a little bit. Figured out I said too many times. I don't know if I'm going to edit all those out or not. So I'm going to kind of leave off today. I did get the carburetor off that bike onto this bike. It worked on here before. It is a smaller carburetor, so it's not really meant for the 125, but it ran pretty decent on here before, but I did have to mess around with it a bunch. I had to jet it more and mess with the throttle cables and turn the idle up is what the problem was. Basically, it needs more carburetor. So, and with it needing a fuel shutoff as well, I'm going to look online, see how much it's going to be for a new carburetor for this bike. New shutoff. Some of them come with like the gas line, the shutoff, the filter, air filter, and carburetor, all as like one kit. So I'll look into one of those, and then maybe we'll just put this carburetor back on the Baja, because it worked pretty good on there. It worked really good actually. So I'd almost rather do that than mess with this carburetor to make it work on a bike that it's not really meant for, when it worked great on its own bike. So I guess I'll leave it there. Channel for this though, I was thinking like homegrown gearheads, maybe something like that. Just kind of trying to help teach young ones to be more gearhead, more hands-on, you know, simple fixes, screwdrivers, you know, tuning, understanding how things work to make them work better. Simple electronics we'll get into, wiring, internal combustion, you know, it's people hate it, but people love it. Not sure. We'll see what else we learn, what else we can show you, tips and tricks, you know, simple things to keep on hand all the time, you know, like in this case, fuel tubing, you know, just when you need fuel tubing, you go to the parts store, you know, and you go buy whatever 6 inches for the project you're on. You might as well buy 3 feet, you know, it's whatever, $2 a foot. Throw it, curl it up, put it on a shelf, hang it on the wall. You got it for later. There's lots of stuff like that. Electrical tape. I do a lot of soldering for electrical stuff, so I have like shrink wrap and paper towels always on hand. Grease is always on hand. You know, all kinds of lubricants. I have oil, filter spray. Like you learn. The more you do this, the more you play around, the more you figure out how you like things, how you want to organize. This is probably my 5th garage, honestly. I move around a lot too much. So now that I'm into this garage, I knew what I wanted to organize. I knew how to organize it. I knew how I've built benches before. So like slam them out in a couple days and back to going, working on projects again. So, but always improve, if you make money off mechanic work or side work or fixing people's, use it to buy more tools, like invest your profits back into your own business. It'll make your life easier. It'll make, it makes making money easier. You get there. It's just how it is. I'm self-taught. I grew up in a garage where we did race cars and stuff. I learned from that, but my parents or my family wasn't really car oriented. They were more fab oriented. So I started teaching myself, figuring things out. Don't be scared to tear it apart, especially if it's already broke. You can't break it more. Just pay attention, the little details. I don't want to say Google it, but watch videos, like YouTube. Read the comments, especially any of you guys that have more knowledge or to put towards it, or advice, or if I did something wrong that's like bad that you don't want anybody else to do. Don't do my mistakes. Put in the comments, and I urge other people watching my videos to read the comments as well. You'll learn. I'm not the only one that knows stuff, but don't be a jerk to people. If people do it a different way, that's how they want to do it. Like people have their own habits, people have their own ideas for why to do it that way, whatever. But so I do it my way, you do it yours. We'll try to help each other out, make it a little easier for everybody. But enjoy the channel. Thanks.